So, tell me, how's it going? The New Year's resolution list of 2023, how did that go? What about that diet for the year? And the self-development plan? What about the new skill, the new job, that business you... Okay. If you say, not so great, then you need to watch the show, because a crossroad between what should have happened and what didn't happen could just be the point of your greatest breakthrough. Doesn't make much sense? Then make sure to watch this Friday at 3 p.m.
Coming up on today's show.
The turning point happened when I worked for a call center that was here in Johannesburg. It brought so much distress because I was there and taking calls is tiring. I did not enjoy the job. I got retrenched. So I thought to myself, what is it that I can do with my hands? And I thought to myself, no, I like making sandwiches. I make very nice mincemeat. So I made mincemeat, put it in the sandwiches, and I said to them, I'm going to sell them at a taxi rank. First day, everything got sold. And I was like, okay, this food thing is working. I opened up a restaurant. I had employees that were there. I had about 12 employees. Everything was just going so well. I remember losing everything. So just like the retrenchment that happened at work, this is now what's happening with me in my business.
How long did you have your business for?
For a year.
For 1 year. And instead of picking up?
It went down. Slowly. Everything just came crumbling down. The little castle I had just came crumbling down, and I did not understand.
And you were at a crossroad.
I was at a crossroad.
Eager to know more? Wow, let's stay tuned.
We are women. We are brave, strong, capable, unique. We are women to women.
Good afternoon, South Africa. Back we are, woman to woman, where values are treasured. And I know it is the middle of the month of December. And we are on a countdown, of course we are, to reveal to you our greatest dream. But you will need to put up with us for another 2 weeks. Very special for us today because we are doing one of our last recordings here. Isn't that, Toko?
We are doing our last recordings in Egypt.
We name it Egypt. We even have a song for that you're going to listen to it next week. The last shows of this year are very special and exciting because they bring a story. They bring our story. You will have to wait a little bit more. On the 29th of December, everything will be revealed. So prepare yourself. If there is something you cannot miss, it's our show of the 29th of December. And we are on a countdown. Today, 15th, then 22nd, where the whole crew will be together. And then the 29th, the big day for you and for us. But for today, we bring a topic that it's called At a Crossroad. When we are close to the end of the year, we start evaluating what we have achieved, what we have not achieved. And who knows, right now, you are sitting at a crossroad in the sense that things did not work the way you planned, the way you hoped. You are so frustrated because dreams did not come through. And you have options in front of you, which they don't make sense at this stage. You don't know what you're going to decide for. You don't see a way out. But I can promise you that our show today will bring some hope, will bring ideas. And who knows, your crossroad will end today. This is the reason why we have Lucia with us here. Welcome, Lucia.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Lucia has been to a crossroad at her life. But until we get to that point, she will tell us a little bit of how it happened.
Hi, everyone. I'm greeting everyone. Today, my name is Lucia Nduli. And I have been through so many crossroads that it's only today I understand why all of them happened. Mm-hmm. And all of these crossroads have happened in my professional life. Professional life is a life that is very sensitive because it rolls around everything that you need to do in your life. Finances are critical, and if things don't go the way that you had planned and the way that you expect them, the disappointments that come with it come with so much. So I started working at a very young age. I remember my first job was at a CD store where we took stock take. That was my very, very, very first job. And then I moved on to retail. I was actually working in a men's shop. Funny enough, that will tie into what I do today. But I used to work in a men's shop, and I used to sell suits. I used to sell ties. I used to sell socks. It was just a men's shop as a whole.
Are they difficult clients?
I think I've worked with them for such a long time that I understand that they can be difficult and they aren't so difficult as us.
Oh.
But yeah, they're very easy to work with. So I worked in retail for some time, and I remember I worked in a kids play store as well. So everything just works in tie with what's happening now in my life. But I think the turning point happened when I worked for a call center that was here in Johannesburg. It was a call center in Parktown, and we used to take incoming calls from the UK. So I used to specialize with customers that actually call from the UK into South Africa. So when I got into that company, it was a call center. I started off by taking calls. So I was a call center agent. But with that, it brought so much distress because I was there, and taking calls is tiring. I did not enjoy the job. I did it, but I did not enjoy it. But the experience with it, because I got to deal with very difficult people, because people from the UK are very difficult to speak to, as much as we both speaking English, but they're very difficult people to deal with. But with that built me in some sort of...
Especially when they have some disagreements, and then to make them understand that things are not working the way, and the frustration of a customer, I guess.
Very frustrating, and a customer that cannot hear what it is that you are saying, but you guys are both speaking English, but you're just not understanding each other. But funny enough, the way God works within that environment, I was a top performer, being that call center agent. I remember we had team leaders that used to lead teams, and team leaders would fight for me to be in their teams, because every team I would be placed in, that team would automatically grow, the NPS would grow, everything would happen. But I had to use my faith, because while I was working there, some Sundays I had to work. I couldn't come to the church as often. I would work shifts, and sometimes I wouldn't come later on in the church. So for me, that was like, no, I cannot deal with this. I used my faith. I told God, remove me from there and give me a position where I can be at work from 8 to 4, leave so that I can be in your house. God honored. I got promoted in the same company. When I got promoted, now I'm training agents on how to be the agent that I was, how to speak to these people, how to calm them down, how to offer them stuff, how to do everything. The company was so pleased with me that they sent me to Cape Town, and I would train agents in Cape Town. Everything was going good. Everything was going well. I was like, okay, this I can do. I'm enjoying teaching people. I'm enjoying showing them the ropes, what to do, how to grow, how to be confident, because sometimes you work in a call center space and people aren't confident to speak. Teaching them how to speak was a pleasure for me. So the years went by, because I stayed there for 3 years. The years went by, all of a sudden, because this is a UK campaign, the whole company got retrenched. Literally all of us. Pack your bags, guys. The campaign is gone. We are giving you packages. You guys have to leave.
It's a blow.
It was a blow. But funny enough, while I was still working there, I always had this idea of what can I do outside of what it is that I'm doing now? What second income can I have besides the salary that I'm getting here that I can get? And I thought to myself, okay, let me cater. And the company would actually hire me to organize some of the company's events, and I would supply food and all of that. We got retrenched, we left.
But that was a side job or a piece job.
It was a piece job, a side job. So we left, everyone left. I think 2 months after or a month after, the company called me back and said, no, Lucia, we need you. We can let everyone else go, but not sure. Please come back and let's see what it is that we can do to make ends meet and see what we can offer you for you to come back into the company. I thought to myself, okay, let me go and see what they can offer, because now here I am, I'm jobless. I need to pay rent. I need to eat. I need to travel. What am I going to do? So I went back, listened to what they had to say to me. Then they said to me, we'll give you this position, a 3 months probation, just for you to see if you like the new campaign that we have. And you'll be working with this manager here. I won't say his name, but I'm very grateful for him. I'll explain why. You'll be working with him, and this is now the department that you're working in. The salary was much more lower than what I used to get, but I was like, okay, I'll work my way up as I usually do, because I'd always push myself. Okay, started working, but in week 1, a few days, I saw that something's not right where I am right now. Like the manager I was working for now, he was an Indian guy, so he used to swear a lot. He used to mistreat people. He even mistreated me while I was working. I don't know where I took the courage, where I took the courage as a whole to say I am resigning with immediate effect. Because I remember there was a situation where he actually put me in the spotlight and made me look bad. It was just horrible. I don't know if I could say I was emotional at the time, or it had to happen for me to get out of that comfort zone, because working sometimes it makes you very comfortable, that you say, I have a side hustle that I really like, but you don't put your all in it because of work. So that manager was the reason why I was like, no, I am quitting. I'm leaving, and it's not a notice, with immediate effect. And I was in tears. Mind you, my bank account is empty. I was supposed to stay there for 3 months, but I stayed for like maybe 2 weeks. And I told them I cannot. When I got home, mind you, I need to pay rent at the end of the month. What do I do? Do I go back home? Going home was not an option for me. I was like, I'm not going to do that, because I will feel like a failure going back home. That's what I thought to myself. So I thought to myself, what is it that I can do with my hands? And mind you, I'm not saying, God, please show me what it is that I can do. I'm depending on me. I'm being dependent on myself to say, what is it that I can do with my hands? And I thought to myself, no, I like making sandwiches. Let me take my last 700 Rand. I remember it was 700 Rand that I had. I bought a toaster. I bought 2 slices, two loaves of bread, white and brown. I make very nice mincemeat. So I made mincemeat, put it in the sandwiches, and I said to them, I'm going to sell them at a taxi rank. I went to Bree taxi rank, told the drivers hi. I got there, I was in a duke. I was all respectable, because I understood the people I was going to.
Yeah.
So with the experience of retail and customer service, I understood there's a certain way that you speak to customers. There's a certain way that you treat customers to make them feel welcomed. So I put on my duke, I put on my skirt, I went on, and I wasn't driving at the time, so I caught a taxi, took my bike, and I sold. First day, everything got sold. And I was like, okay, this food thing is working. But I got there and I observed their behavior. And I saw that, okay, these people like food. What is it that do I really continue with sandwiches? What do I do? With God being so faithful within my unfaithfulness, because I was unfaithful depending on myself. He showed me ways. Things started opening up in the catering industry, because I started getting gigs, government gigs for me to cook. I started getting school gigs for me to provide. Things were moving. And I was like, okay, never mind corporate, never mind anything else. I found myself. Everything is proper. I remember while I was at the other company, I was applying in other places. And there was a place that called me and said, now you can come start work. And I told them, no, you can keep your offer. I'm okay where I am. Everything went so well. I was able to buy my car. Things just started evolving. But now I'm so deep into the taxi industry that I now understand how they operate. What is it that they need? I don't know where I got the courage. But I did it anyway. To such an extent that now the associations know me. They know my work. They know what I do. They know that I am a chef, because with time going by, I got the opportunity for me to actually be trained on how to be a professional chef. It was a sponsorship by a very big company that sponsored me, took me to school. I learned how to cook. I was now a professional chef.
So now you changed it completely. The industry you were used to with, you even learned the skills and embarked in the food industry.
Absolutely. I was now hardcore in the food industry. But there was always this one chef that would always tell me, Lucia, you aren't a chef. And I just didn't understand when I would get offended when he would say, I'm not a chef. And I'd be like, why is he saying I'm not a chef and I am cooking?
Was he a chef himself?
He was part of an association that takes care of South African chefs in South Africa.
So he
was-
knew what he was talking about.
What he was talking about. Because it takes a chef to know
a chef.
another one.
Absolutely. He's like, Lucia, you aren't a chef. In my head, I'm thinking, what is he talking about? Like, I'm cooking and people are eating and people are enjoying this food. Like, what is he talking about? To the point where I would cater for associations. Chairmen would call me for funerals, when they have memorials. And for them, it was great because they had a professional chef doing this for them. Yeah. Everything grew so quick, and in my eyes, I saw it as gold. I saw it as, wow, this is where I am. This is the industry that it is for me. It's literally mine. And I remember when I would go to school for the chefing part of things, they would make fun of me and say, Gunjane rank. In Finnish, like they would ask me, Gunjane rank. Like, they were being sarcastic to say the people you are serving, like, how are they? But finally, something just told me.
They can be very difficult at
Absolutely. Something just said, stay within this industry. But I knew something was just not connecting very well. So I thought to myself,
But you were making money, you were happy, you were fulfilled, and you were respected by them.
Yes, absolutely.
So in humans' eyes, everything was working so well.
Very well, to a point that I got sponsored by a certain association and I opened up a restaurant. I had employees that were there. I had about 12 employees that were working for me. Everything was just going so well. But it's only now that I understand that was all gained by the strength of my arm. It was only to a certain point where I understood that with the strength of your arm, you can only go so far and come back again and fail. When I opened up my restaurant, it was great. We had a launch. It was on TV. It was on radio. It was everywhere because I used to work with this big association. It was just, but within that, I was never fulfilled because I felt as though there's something that is just not sitting well with me.
There was still a void.
Yes, I love cooking. I love seeing people enjoy eating my food, but there was just something missing. And with the food that I would cook really healthy food. And sometimes they would complain and say, no, we're not used to this food. Like, it came to a point where it was like that hype, and then it came down again to say, no, we don't like this food. We're not used to this food. Why should we eat this type of food? But to cut a very long story short, I remember losing everything. So just like the retrenchment that happened at work, this is now what's happening with me in my business.
How long did you have your business for?
For a year.
For 1 year. And
year.
instead of picking up?
It went down slowly. And I would get very big gigs from corporates because besides the taxi people, I would focus on corporates. I would tell myself my niche is corporate people because they have the budget. I don't need to negotiate in terms of prices. I would get very big tenders, like a lot of money, but I don't know how to use that money. I don't know how to. It was like me catching water in my hands.
It's like you are not yet mature for that, for you to handle that kind of
Absolutely.
money. Yeah.
My rent was always at the back. It was never in front. Everything was just my staff. I could not pay them properly to a point where some of them resigned. And it's only now that I realized that I had such good people working for me, but I was the problem because I didn't have discipline in my finances. I never understood that when you get money in your business, reinvest back in the business. I saw the money as just money for me to splash on myself, spend it, money that I never had.
So in other words, you learned the cooking part. You were good with that. but you didn't learn the business skills that come with it.
Absolutely.
And that has been one of the reasons why many restaurants fail, because part of the success is to know how to manage, how to replace a stock, how to keep some for those days that you're not going to have many clients and many contracts. And that led you to fail.
Absolutely. So in my head, I had this picture that things will always be the way that it is. It will always be fine. There won't be any rainy days. Everything will just be okay. I was living in a facade in my head with the strength of my arm. So I lost everything. I lost the property. I lost my chefs. I lost my employees. I lost money. I felt
Clients.
sick. I lost clients. Everything was just a mess. I had to sell equipment. I had to sell pots. I had to sell extractors. Everything was just a mess. It was like everything just came crumbling down. The little castle I had just came crumbling down, and I did not understand.
And you were at a crossroad.
I was at a crossroad. I was so frustrated. I had no peace. I would cry. And I just did not understand that financially I'm doing so well. I was doing so well. But why is all of this happening? And it was like the clients too were just drawing back one by one, one by one. People aren't ordering anymore. I'm no longer the hype that I used to be. So with that, I had to move back home, my mom's place, because there's nowhere to go now. I can't go to my father because I did not know my father and he passed on. I don't have any family members here. I just need to go back home. So I went back home to my mom's place. Still with the strength of my arms.
What you were so much afraid of before, now you had to subject yourself to that.
Absolutely. Still with the strength of my arms, I went to my mom. I got there. Mothers will always be mothers. Yes. She welcomed me home. I knew that I needed not to worry about rent. But because of the relationship that I had with my mom, staying with my mom was just something I was not willing to do for a long time. So I stayed, I think, about maybe 2 months. Then after that, I was there cracking my head to say, what is it that I'm going to do? How is it that I need to now redo what I was doing? What was I doing wrong? But I didn't take it seriously. Mind you, I'm not including God in it, in the equation. I'm still using the strength of my arm. After 2 months, I moved out of my mom's place again, and I found another place. It was a small bachelor. Within that small bachelor, I was like, okay, I'm going to start cooking again here. This is what I'm going to do. It's what I'm used to. I've seen it making money for me, and I'm going to go on and do it. I used my kitchen to cook. So now, because they can't come to my place, I would take the food to them. That carried on for some time, but still, I could not afford rent. I could not pay the 3 employees now that I have, because I had 3 employees now that I had employed. So because the drivers can't come to the restaurant, the idea was to take the food to the ranks for them to actually enjoy. So they had this picture that, okay, the food is being prepared in a very big kitchen, it's clean, and the food is coming to us, we are special. Still, I couldn't pay rent. And mind you, it was very little rent, but I couldn't afford it. I couldn't eat properly. I couldn't clothe myself. I just felt like everything was just short. Everything was just with the strength of I was frustrated inside. I was panicking. I was anxious because every time the first would come for rent, I wouldn't know what is it that I need to do. How am I going to do it? To a point where, again, I had to move back to my mother's place.
I think that the problem here, what I'm seeing while she's talking, is that while she was with her mom, she thought so much, what should I do? What should I do? Without even strategizing, because you didn't learn from your mistake, your past mistake from the business that crumbled. Now you just jumped. It's like a person who was hurt in a relationship. Instead of healing, they jump to another relationship. Then it doesn't work.
That's exactly what I did.
How was your relationship with God at this stage? Because you were already in the church.
At this stage, it was non-existent. When I say non-existent, I was coming to the church, but my dependence was not on what He's directing me to do.
Would you blame God? Because at the end of the day, we all have that sense. But I am a tither. I give my offerings. Why did you allow this to happen? Did you have that kind of thought?
I think she didn't have the courage to say.
Nothing.
Because she wasn't that faithful, isn't it? I can see it.
He wasn't that faithful
Yes, I
at
can
all.
tell.
At all. I was not. So blaming God, asking him why is this happening was totally out of the equation. He was not part of the equation at all. Totally. So the blaming game, I would blame myself. What am I doing wrong? Why is it not working? What is wrong with me? It was always me. I planned this and this is not working. Why? What's going on with me? Is it the place that everything was just revolving around Lucia. I did not have a calm mind to say, listen to what God is saying to you. I went back to my mother's place, and going back home for me this time around, I think I really sat down with myself, and after a counseling session that I had with the pastor in the church, I remember he said to me, you've got the equation wrong here. If you can start with what it is that you are putting last, this is what is going to help you. I remember leaving crying, and I told God, I don't know what to do. Right now, I'm inviting you, I'm asking you, please help me. I went to my mother's place. When I went to my mother's place, I think I stayed there. It was not 2 months now. I stayed a year at my mom's place. But in this year, it was a different year because I had put what I had put last first. When I came to the church, I spoke to God. I told him, I don't know what it is that I need to do. Lead me. Because I understood what it was like to do things with the strength of your arm. I understood what it was like to force things, and maybe that's not the time, or to be in a situation where you don't need to be there. You're just there because you're the one that chooses to be there. I became faithful in my chains of prayers, because when I was that Lucia, I would jump chains of prayers because I'm busy figuring out what it is that I need to do. So I literally dived in this time around, and I told God, please show me what it is that I need to do. So I got to understand that, okay, stay in the same industry that you are in, because it's a very good niche. But this time around, instead of feeding them healthy food, because I could see that health-wise, drivers are not healthy. They don't eat healthy. They've got stress levels. There are men that are just frustrated as a whole. They've got issues. And when I say issues, health issues, physical ones. All your men issues, they are suffering from all of that, and they don't know what to do.
And it is very stressing, just the fact of driving for so many hours in the traffic of Johannesburg. That's a lot of stress. We all drive, and we know how stressing that is. Imagine now you're doing that for living all the days of the week. They don't have a day off.
Absolutely.
For how many hours?
It's a long
It's like
time.
12 or 14 minimum. So I can only imagine seated in that same position.
The whole day. So I started really calming down and not really putting into consideration rent and food and all of that. I just put that aside. And I was like, I don't want to think about what I'm going to do next. I will wait for God's way this time around. And I sat down, and God really showed me to say, this is the industry that you're in. These are their problems. This is what you need to fix. It's not about what they are eating, because I had an idea that, okay, I'll train ladies at the rank on how to cook healthy food. That is not what they need. They need to understand why they need to eat healthy food.
Yeah, because they don't like health food.
Absolutely. For them to make the correct choices on their own, not anyone imposing the healthy food on them. So now, from being a chef, God gave me this wonderful, wonderful name, the Men's Nutritionist. That is the name of my company, the Men's Nutritionist. So it's basically nutrition that focuses only on men's health and men in the taxi industry. When I launched that, this time around, I told God, please show me how to do it. What must I do? In which direction? What should I do? Please lead me. And everything that had happened, working with stubborn UK people, working with men in the retail, I got to infuse that with the men I work with now. because taxi drivers are not easy people to talk to. You need to really have that lingo with
And
them.
especially when you are a woman.
I said to myself, I will not go there as Lucia. I'm going to go there as a brand, not as Lucia. And they need to understand that I am a brand. I'm not just the woman who is Lucia. God worked in...
You're still wearing your duca, yes.
Yes. That's my trademark. So now I have my duca. I'm branded now. And I get there and I tell them this is what I do. So what I'm doing now is I was in a crossroad where I thought cooking and chefing was definitely for me. But in that crossroad, I got to understand I am in the right avenue. I'm just not taking the correct turn. God was so faithful that I remember going to a health store. And when I got there, the lady that works there actually showed me a certain machine that they use to scan people.
Yeah.
And it was funny because how do you go into a shop and then someone shows you how they are making money? And I took that, I did my research, I could afford the machine. I got the machine, and that machine is able to actually test prostate issues, male issues, how they are, and all of that. Sugar, high blood pressure, cholesterol, and all of that. When I got that, and I now went back to the associations to say, this is now what I'm doing, it blew up because people were like, this is what we need. To a point where I actually got to understand how herbs work, because herbs are nutrition. How herbs work, how they go along with the body, men's body. Got to understand how a man's body works and all of that. God was so faithful that he gave me ideas of formulating medicine for people to take. And when they take this medicine, they see such a big change that they no longer crave the foods that they were eating. They now want to eat healthier. So that skyrocketed. It started so humbly, it skyrocketed. I used to get, and I still get, so many orders of the medication that I make for men. So now I teach them how to take care of their health, and they listen because it is great.
That is the amazing part. Yes. Because men don't like to look after their health, let alone in this industry. Those who are from South Africa will understand very well what we're talking about.
Yeah.
They are a group of very special people. Our husbands work with them and we have great respect for them, but we know they have their mindset. And they really feel disrespected if you try to impose something that it is out of what they have as acceptance. So the amazing part is that you made a life working with one of the most challenging industries in South Africa.
It is so inspiring because I ask myself even today to say how great is the God that we serve, because as young as I am in this industry, these are very old, respectable men. But a little pain that they feel, they will call and say, Manduli, I'm feeling this. What is it that I need to do? What should I eat? Please write down what is it that I need to do. So for me, I praise God for that, because with everything that happened, I believe I had to tap into the chefing industry, though it was not where I belonged. Yes. But I had to tap into it to understand how to teach a person to eat healthy and still make it tasty. Because the thing that they're suffering from is, why should we eat? They say in Venek,
yes. It means that rabbit's food. Yeah.
Yes.
Food.
That's what they say. But when you train them and you teach them and you make them understand that lokho kudla kwanogwaja has nitric oxide, which helps you with your manhood, then they understand that, wow, I really need to start.
And they respect their manhood, by the way.
Yes. So that was my selling point, to say you need to eat healthy because you are fixing your manhood. So I got to understand everything that happened for a reason. Although I was frustrated at the time and I did not understand why it's happening. And over and above, it taught me that if you put God in the first place, not only in your tithe, but in your decisions, and you sit down.
That's what we're going to talk about just after our break. Because I wanted to hold her a bit longer so that more than how she sorted out her problem, how that impacted in her spiritual life and what was the secret, because maybe up to now you haven't realized the secret of it. And you are exactly at that crossroad. Nothing seems to have worked during 2023. I hear people saying, oh, I want midnight to come quickly. I wanted to start a new year because I want to forget 2023. And it has a purpose. So that you find out more about that purpose, stay with us just after until the break. We will be right back.
Invisible, forgettable. When someone makes you feel you don't exist, you don't know what to do and can understand. It doesn't matter what they think, because I know that my Lord is with me. People can talk and reject me. He's my father and friend. I am strong cause of all I've been through. God is present. Loneliness no longer lives in me. I know you love me. I am your child. We're together until the end. He's my father and friend. I am strong cause of all I've been through. God is present. Loneliness no longer lives in me. I know you love me. I am your child. We're together until the end. Invisible, forgettable. When someone makes you feel you don't exist, you don't know what to do and can understand. It doesn't matter what they think, because I know that my Lord is with me.
Welcome back. When we just stopped for the break, we were talking about the secret, and there is so much more. You think it stopped like there? She's going to tell you more. What was the secret that you were not paying attention to, and you saw yourself losing and losing and losing many times until you got it right?
The secret that I was not paying attention to that was right in front of me, because I would come to the church. It's not that all of this was happening and I was not coming to the church. I say it was in front of me because I would hear time and time again, I would get guidances time and time again from the altar, but I would see them as God doesn't know what he's doing. Like I was helping God to say, no, you don't know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. I know what I want. So the secret that I learned is to be still and know that he is God. He knows what he is doing. Even though you don't understand, he knows what he is doing. There's never been a time in my life where I was so frustrated the way I was frustrated when I was running my catering business. And I would go on the altar and testify, and everyone would know me as, a chef, and everyone would call me chef and all of that. But within that hype, I know how frustrated I was. I know how unfulfilled I was. And that was very uncomfortable. So the secret for me is you just need to listen. And you need to make the time to say your will is not God's will sometimes.
And you spoke about something very interesting. It's not only about tithe. I was faithful in the tithe. You had to fear him.
I had to prioritize what he's saying to me, because God speaks. We are the ones that choose to complicate what he says to us. We are the ones that choose to sit in comfort zones that are comfortable to us. And what looks right to us, we like it. And when God says no, you want to say no. Why are you saying no? Because this is working. I'm cooking. It's working, right? But God's like, no, I have a bigger plan for you. So besides tithe, because for me, I don't only look at tithe in the financial aspect, but today I've learned the secret of tithing with everything. Every meeting I go to with associations, before I even speak to them, I will pray and I'll put God ahead. Before I even plan, before I even say anything to them, I'll say, God, you take the lead and you be the one who's speaking through me to these people. And for me, it's a great opportunity because I'm able to also what they need. They might think they need to fix their dietary needs, but some of them need to also fix their own relationships with God. God is saying to them, all the illnesses you have, I can help you. So being that vessel, I'm so grateful for that. So the secret is just to obey.
I think putting God first revealed that, you can achieve greater than you thought, because sometimes when we have something, we hold on to it so much, Mrs. Martha.
Yes.
Then God cannot even give you something because you are too much holding to this, because you held too much on your knowledge, because you would succeed there, you'll succeed. So God will be at the back. Every time it's just you until you came to realize that, no, I can't do it without God. And God showed you that, let go of this, then I'll give you more.
Absolutely. It's not that things work 100% all the time.
Yes.
Even with some associations that say, no, we're not interested in this, I still say, God, you are the one that knows what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. To a point where God has given me another idea where I don't only teach them how to eat healthy and to take care of themselves, but I saw another gap that I was like, okay, what do you want me to do with this, God? And he said to me, teach them how to talk, because some of them don't know how to talk.
So you're challenging every taboo
Within
for a
the
woman in
industry,
South Africa
it's
within
true.
the industry.
Absolutely. So God was like, teach them, be a one-stop shop for them. Because if you look good and you feel good, you need to talk the part. So God gave me that inspiration. Opulent Talks is what I call that section of the business, where I teach them how to speak business English, how to make negotiations when you go to all of these dealerships. When I presented that to them, they were like, listen, this is it. Whatever you charge us, we will do it, and we want you to teach us. So for me, teaching has always been inside of me. I was just shutting it down and saying, no, maybe this is not, it's not my thing. Teaching people, I'm not going to do this. But when I write speeches for them, especially the type of people that I teach, I'm like, no, I never saw. I always wanted to be an air hostess, travel, but it didn't.
If someone would have told you 10 years ago that today you would be able, as a woman, to teach the most traditional group of people that we have in our country, the taxi industry, would you believe that?
I wouldn't, because taxi industry as a whole in South Africa is it's a no-touch industry. It's very hard to build trust with them. It's very hard to get into their circle, just to step in and say, this is what I do. They're very protective of themselves because they amongst themselves have got their own issues.
Yes.
So they don't know if you are sent
It's a
by
very
the enemy.
competitive industry.
Yes, they don't know if you're sent by the enemy to spy, to do whatever. So to really be in a position where you are neutral with everyone and everyone understands that, listen, this is not the enemy. This is someone that we need for us to grow as well. It's a privilege. So I wouldn't have believed if someone said, you work in the industry.
That's how God works, ne?
When they would say, "Kunjani erenkeni?" Sometimes I think about that and I'm like,
uhamba
kahle manje erenkeni." So
That's me, and I'm proud of it.
absolutely, I'm okay. So I don't know if God has future plans for me to leave the industry or whatever, but I'm so grateful of where it is that he's put me now, because he knows his purpose of me being there. So I'm just there to embrace it, grow in it. Whatever goes right, left, top, bottom, he knows what's happening. I've come to a point where I don't want to panic when things don't go my way. I don't want to be anxious when deals or things don't go the way that I thought they would. I've gone past that phase because I know where I come from. And I know.
Being at this crossroad and having those experiences and frustrations, we don't need to repeat again. You have been through a lot of frustration and anger. But seeing the plan of God and embarking with the plan of God, how did it impact your spiritual life?
Spiritually, I was very, very low. I was broken spiritually. I had no commitment with God. Besides not listening to him, I was void of him. Because when you do things with the strength of your own arm, you are not dependent on him. You're not leaning on him to wait on him. It's like you want to tell him what to do. So when I think about it now, I'm so embarrassed because it's like, God created me and I'm telling the one who created me that, no, I want to function like this. So it's embarrassing to say this is how I was, but spiritually I was broken. I had anxiety attacks. I was miserable inside. And for me, it was like I was blinded because I was in the church. Everything is happening the way that it is in the church. But God was not in the equation, in it all, in everything that I would do. He was not there. So it impacted me so much because I'd be in the church praying, but my mind is somewhere else. I'd be in the church participating of services, being faithful, being here, but my mind is totally somewhere else. Worst part, when lockdown came and we would not come to the church physically, that was worse because I was even frustrated more to say, the pandemic is here. This is what's going on. What do I do? Everything was it was horrible. It was horrible. I had no God at that time.
So today, if God tells you, we are going to change lanes again and go to another freeway, are you ready for that?
I'm ready 100% because I've learned to trust him. Even in the smallest things, the really smallest things in my life, I've learned to trust him. I've learned to say, God, do what it is, because I've learned to understand that he knows all things. Like I say, even though I was not supposed to be in the chefing industry, there was a purpose of why I was there. Even though I was not supposed to be in retail forever, because the people that I worked with 10 years ago are still there today, but I left and I worked with men. I got to interact with them. There was a reason for that. The reason for the UK customers who were so stubborn.
I was going to go there as well and say, that stubborn couple, whatever, those stubborn people, they led you to the stubborn people as well that you're working with. And now you know how to deal with them.
Absolutely. So whether God says, listen, Lucia, we're packing our bags now, we're going to China, I will follow through. Whether he says, Lucia, we're going to India now, this is what you're doing, I will follow through because he knows all things. And I've got to understand that everything really works for those who love God. So for me, it's my
even when it goes against their own will.
Absolutely. And another thing is working with the CBC as well, Sunday school. I never thought I would work with kids, teach kids. So for me, this teaching thing, it's only now that I really understand that this is it.
That was the plan of God from the beginning. And that leads us to God's point in this.
Let's see God's point in this.
Funny enough, we got a Bible verse, and maybe you never read it, and it was a surprise to me, that talks about crossroads. Did you know about that? So let us read together Jeremiah 6:16. Judah rejects the Lord's way. This is what the Lord says. Stop at the crossroads and look around. Ask for the old, godly way and walk in it. Travel its path, and you will find rest for your souls. But you reply, no, that's not the road we want. Interesting, isn't that? Because it was exactly what happened to her. And maybe this is exactly what's happening to you. God has a dream for you. God has a journey for you. But you're so frustrated, lamenting that you did not achieve what you wanted. You did not get what you planned for. It's coming the end of the year. You have your New Year's resolution that became old. Nothing happened, and you are not realizing that you're telling God, no, that's not the road I want to go. When God has this beautiful road, you know, when it says stop at the crossroad and look around and go for the old godly way, it is allow God to lead you. You have dreams, and God is not despising your dreams. But who knows? He has a much greater dream for you, a much broadened purpose for you. And you are saying, no, I don't want that way. We are about to cross to a new year, and I want to invite you to test God in this. Do what Lucia did. Allow God to lead the way, because He's going to not only give you so much more than what you ever thought you could have, but He will use you and whatever He gives you for His glory. Lucia, today you are able to speak about God to them.
Absolutely. I have a remedy that I give them that detoxes their system. So it literally starts their system from what it was to zero. It puts back the body back to alkalinity. So it drains off all the cold drinks that they eat, everything else, and it's got laxative effects. So what I do is I always take the newspaper of the church and I put it in there and I tell them, Baba, mouse toilet, you will sit down, do what you're doing, ufunde le paper, yes? Funda le paper. So I believe that in that moment, it's God speaking to those who are allowing Him to speak to them. Because most of them suffer from stress from family problems, the checking that they need to give through. This is now driver's part of the story. The checking that they need to do, the targets that they need to have, all of that is literally stressing. Most of them will say, I drink a lot because I cannot handle this job. Sometimes we see them as big and masculine, but there's a lot that they go through. And when you sit down and understand and tell them, so it's not like only nutritionally now, it's like a counseling session with them to say, yes, sometimes, uthandaza, yes, uthandaza. It can really take you far. So for God to use me as that vessel, I'm humbled, especially in this type of industry. And they'll fight when I come. They're like, "Nangu dokotela sakafike, please." I say, am I voting? They say, am I voting? Yiphi monto uzohlala kuyiphi monto? It's like, you know, it's amazing.
So you see the road that God took you. Stop at the crossroad. And He took you to the place where He wants you to be, because not only to provide for her, but to bring glory to Him.
Absolutely.
Toku, what is the conclusion of the matter?
Now for the conclusion of the matter.
The conclusion of the matter today is that you have to stop, because sometimes we are so much in a hurry for things to happen. And when we are in a hurry, it's very easy for us to forget God. We want to do and do. Only when we hit ourselves on the wall, that's when we remember there is God. God wants you to stop and think. Sit down and have a conversation with Him and ask Him, what is it that you want me to do? Because sometimes we think what we are doing is what God wants. And I'm telling you, sometimes you'll find that no, it's you who want that, not God. And when you let go of that, you will enjoy the fruits. Because when you hold on so much to the castle that you've been building, you will only live in that castle and never be able to move. But if you tell yourself, yes, I love this castle, so let me come out of it and see what God has for me out there. God will open your vision. God does not give in the hand. You see that He opened a vision for you. All the things you did, it was God putting an idea. Because people, Mrs. Massa, they have a tendency of thinking that God will say, come, do this and hold them. He will give you an idea. It's you to act upon that idea, and it needs submission and understanding that it's God speaking to you. Then you will see that because you submitted your will to God and you obeyed Him, then you will benefit the fruits. So that is the conclusion of the matter today.
I also concluded something. We might find ourselves at a crossroad, but God is never at a crossroad.
not at all.
He knows the way forward.
Yes.
Lucia, you have been to a crossroad and God showed you the way. Would you pray for those who maybe are frustrated like you had been? They are counting the days to the end of the year. They're thinking about going home and telling what to their family because the year was not productive. But maybe they are resisting to trust God. And coming from someone who trusted God and today can testify about it, they'll be blessed.
Let's pray. My Heavenly Father, in Jesus' mighty name I pray. Father, I thank you for this opportunity that you have made me to be here, to show people that if it is that they listen to you and understand that you are God, you have got greater things for them in store. I pray for the women that are out there that are frustrated, confused, desperate, empty inside, and completely lost in what it is that they need to do, because maybe something is not happening the way that they hoped that it would be. I ask you, Father, for you to give them the inspiration to speak to them, to be the one to hold their hands just like how you held mine. Even though I never understood, I would cry, I would be frustrated, I would be in a way where I could not even explain it right now. But you, my Lord, you knew very well what it is that you are doing. You are not a confused God. So I ask you, Father, for you to speak to this woman who needs to understand that you are not confused. They may not understand what is going on right now, but you know all things. And I ask you, Father, for you to give them the strength to understand that you know all things, to trust in you and to put their hope and their vision with you, Father, because you cannot lead people to potholes. You know everything, Father, and it is the best of their interest that is with you. So in Jesus' mighty name, as they pass over to 2024, when they do, go ahead of them and hold them just like how you held my hand. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Lucia, thank you very much for telling your story. And I am sure, I told you in the beginning of the show, who knows now, we are going to bring you some hope and purpose for your year end. And I'm sure Lucia did. So in this journey, we are inviting you Dare to Dream next week with us. The last 2 shows of the year are very promising. Of course, whenever we ask God to direct, God will bring something special. There is no secret in this, isn't that? So the last 2 shows of the year count down to 2024, a special year for us, especially spiritually speaking. Until then, God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Laughter.
No, there is no cut. Let's go, Nami.
Classical moments.
So I'm not sure if I can answer that or my friends can do.
Humbling.
Totally drift away from my vision, from my purpose. And God was so merciful because He saw my sincerity, though I was drifting away, but He saw my sincerity.
Impactful.
To give of yourself to your child, to listen when they speak, to listen when they are talking to you, not to shut them down, not to shout at them, not to call them names, but your presence will remain with them forever, and they will appreciate the teachings that you give to them.
Eye-opening.
But values and principles do not change at all. They stay the same. And once I know that, and once I tell myself that, and I love myself because I'm not going to compromise my salvation for somebody else, then once I love myself in that way, it will be easier for me to love others.
Do you find yourself experiencing those moments while watching the Woman to Woman programs? Well, this is our gift for you. We are announcing our Woman to Woman playlist on Facebook and YouTube. Watching Made Easy, where you can go back to the shows again and relive those moments. Enjoy.